When I arrived at the acreage that Saturday morning and found Sasha crying in the kitchen, I knew immediately that something was terribly wrong. She stood at the sink with her hands submerged in cloudy, soapy water, her shoulders hunched as if the weight of the world had settled on them. Her hair, usually neat and carefully styled, was pulled back into a careless ponytail. Deep, dark circles framed her eyes, the kind that only come from nights without sleep. She cried silently, the way women cry when they are too exhausted even to sob behind her. In the open-plan living room that flowed into the kitchen, chaos reigned. At least 8 people filled the space. But Omar's mother, Denise, sat like a queen on the couch, the same woman who had looked at me since day one as if I were an inconvenience standing between her and something she wanted. His sisters, Taylor and Morgan, lounged nearby, their sharp laughter slicing through the air like mockery. The younger brother, Derek, was there too, along with his wife and their 2 children, who ran through the house unchecked, screaming and crashing into furniture. They sprawled across the sofas as if the house belonged to them. "Where's the coffee?" "We need more toast. The jelly's gone." And my daughter, my Sosha, was serving them. She moved from counter to table like a shadow, refilling cups, wiping spills, absorbing every command and every insult. "Sasha, where's the sugar?" One of the sisters shouted without even looking at her. "These eggs are cold," Denise snapped. "Make me new ones." My daughter obeyed. She was acting like hired help in her own home, stood frozen in the doorway as anger rose from the pit of my 70-year-old stomach. This was not what I had planned. This was not what I had sacrificed for a year and a half earlier. Sasha had escaped her first marriage at years with a man who never raised a hand but destroyed her just the same. He ignored her for weeks, called her useless, told her she ruined his life. When she finally asked for a divorce, he took everything: the house, their savings, even the car I'd given her for her 30th birthday. She came to me with 2 suitcases and a broken spirit. For months, she drifted through my house like a ghost, 43 years old and convinced her life was over. Every night she cried, mourning the family she never had, the home she lost, the happiness she believed she'd missed forever. So I made a decision. I had saved $5,000 money I'd tucked away over 30 years as a bookkeeper, meant for my retirement, so I wouldn't burden anyone. But when I looked at my daughter, I knew that money had a greater purpose. I found a small acreage on the edge of the city, 5 acres, fruit trees, a modest 3-bedroom house with a large kitchen overlooking the garden. It cost $52,000, and I took out a $7,000 loan without hesitation. The day I gave Sasha the keys, she stared at them as if they weren't real. "It's mine, Mom," she whispered. "Really mine." "Yours," I told her, holding her tight. "And no one else's." We cried together that day, tears of hope, relief, and new beginnings. I imagined her baking again, tending her garden, finally living in peace. I never imagined this. 6 months later, she met Omar in a grocery store. He was charming, attentive, everything her ex had never been. They married quickly, barely 4 months after meeting. And with him came his family. Vivian, what a surprise, Denise said sweetly when she finally noticed me. Her smile was polite, but her eyes were cold. We didn't know you were coming. It's my daughter's home, I replied calmly, though my blood boiled. I can come whenever I like. Her smile widened not warmly, but victoriously. Well, technically, she said, standing and strolling toward me with confidence. It belongs to your daughter and my son now. They're married. What's his is hers, and what's hers is his. My skin prickled. Sasha, I called, never breaking eye contact with Denise. Come here. My daughter looked up, eyes swollen and red. Relief flickered across her face, followed by fear. I'm busy, Mum, she whispered. I need to clean up. Let someone else do it, I said firmly. Come here now. Denise laughed. Oh, Vivian, don't be dramatic. Sasha's just helping out. We're family, aren't we? Families help each other. I looked around. The sisters lay on the couch, feet on Sasha's coffee table. Derek smoked outside, unconcerned. Toys, crumbs and dirty dishes littered the floor. And how long have you all been here? I asked. 2 weeks, Denise replied casually. And we'll be staying all summer. Omar invited us. Why have a home if you don't share it with family? 2 weeks. My daughter had been living in this nightmare for 2 weeks and hadn't told me a word. And where is Omar? I asked, my chest tightening. He went out with his father to look at some land. Denise said, settling back onto the couch like it was her throne. They'll be back for lunch. Denise glanced at the clock. Speaking of which, Sasha, it's almost 11. You should start cooking. You know my son doesn't like to eat late. Sasha nodded without a word and began pulling pots from the cabinet. Her movements were stiff, mechanical like a robot programmed to obey. Something inside me broke. This was not the woman I had raised. This was not the strong woman who had survived 18 years of emotional abuse and still found the courage to start over. I stepped closer and gently touched her arm. She flinched as if my touch had burned her. That was when I saw it. Red raw marks circled her wrists. Her hands were cracked, swollen, ruined from endless scrubbing. Her nails, once always neat and polished, were broken and caked with dirt. Sasha, I said quietly, forcing my voice to stay steady. I need to talk to you, alone. Why don't you sit with us for a bit, Vivian? Taylor interrupted lazily. We're watching a really good soap. Sasha, bring your mum a coffee, will you? I didn't come to watch TV, I replied without looking at her. I came to talk to my daughter. What an attitude, Morgan muttered loudly. Now we see where Sasha gets it from. I turned to face her. She was in her mid-30s, bleached blonde hair, nails so long I wondered how she managed basic tasks. She popped grapes into her mouth and spat the seeds straight onto Sasha's wooden coffee table. "What attitude?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. She shrugged, eyes glued to the screen. "Nothing. Just saying Sasha gets overly sensitive. Like doing a few chores is the end of the world." I inhaled once, twice, 3 times. Years ago, I had promised myself never to lose control in front of people who weren't worth it, never to give them the satisfaction of watching me explode. But they were testing every ounce of restraint I had left. "Sasha, we're going outside," I said, taking her arm firmly but gently. "But lunch can wait." I led her out of the kitchen before anyone could object. We walked toward the backyard, far from the eyes and ears of that family of parasites. Sasha kept her head down, dragging her feet as if each one weighed 100 pounds. When we reached the old swing set, the one I'd installed a week after buying the property, I made her sit. I knelt in front of her, ignoring the pain in my 70-year-old knees, and took her damaged hands in mine. "Tell me," I said softly. "Tell me everything." And then the dam broke. Sasha began to sob, not the silent crying from the kitchen, but deep, wrenching sobs that tore from her chest. The sound of someone who had been holding everything in for far too long. "I don't know how it happened." "Mum," she choked out. "Everything was so good at first. Omar was kind, attentive, so different. He made me feel important." She shook her head. "He never told me his family was like this. He never said his mother was so controlling, so demanding, so cruel." "I know, baby," I whispered. "At first, they only visited sometimes." Denise made comments, but Omar said that was just how she was. That she didn't mean anything by it. I tried to get along. I really did. She wiped her face, breathing unevenly. But 3 weeks ago, Denise called. She said her landlord raised the rent and she needed a place to stay for a few days. Omar asked if she could come. How could I say no? She's his mother. Anger surged through me, but I stayed silent. She arrived with 2 suitcases. Said it would only be a week. On the 3rd day, Taylor showed up, said she'd fought with her boyfriend. Then Morgan said her apartment was being remodeled. Then Derek, his wife, the kids, saying they just wanted to enjoy the country. And Omar, I asked. She shook her head slowly. He never says no, especially not to his mother. He says we owe them hospitality. That the house is big enough, that I'm overreacting when I complain. Overreacting, I repeated, my blood heating. When they treat you like a servant. She says it's my duty as a wife, Sasha whispered. That in their family, a good wife always puts others first. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. And I thought, maybe she's right. Maybe I'm selfish. Maybe this is normal, and I just don't know because I grew up with only you. Those words hit me like a slap. Sasha, I said, lifting her face gently. Look at me. She did. Her eyes, so much like mine were, filled with doubt and pain. This is not normal, I said firmly. This is not love. A family does not use you. A family does not exploit you. A family does not make you feel like a stranger in your own home. But Omar says, I don't care what Omar says, I cut in. This house is yours. Only yours. I put it in your name for a reason. She blinked. But we're married. What's mine is his. No, I said. This property was acquired before marriage. Legally, it belongs to you alone. You decide who stays. You decide who leaves. Something shifted in her eyes, a small spark of hope. I can't kick them out, she whispered. Omar would never forgive me. And is he forgiving you for being miserable? I asked quietly. For crying alone in your kitchen? For being displaced from your own bedroom? Silence. Where are you sleeping, Sasha? Her eyes dropped. On the small sofa and your bedroom. Denise said she needed the bed to back. That was enough. I stood up, a determination rising in me that I hadn't felt in years. Get up, I said, offering my hand. She took it, confused. What are you going to do, Mum? I'm going to remind them whose house this is. We walked back inside. Sasha trembled behind me, but my decision was made. Nothing had changed. Denise sat like a queen. The sisters lounged. The children screamed. The mess had multiplied spilled juice, crumbs, towers of dirty dishes. Sasha, you're back, Denise said without looking at her. It could make me chamomile tea. Hot. This time. This morning it was lukewarm. I stepped in front of the television, blocking the screen. Excuse me, Taylor snapped. We're watching that. Not anymore, I said calmly. I grabbed the remote from between the cushions and turned off the TV. What do you think you're doing? Denise shot to her feet, outrage etched across her face. You can't just come in here. I can, I interrupted, my voice steady. And I am This is my daughter's house, I said calmly, and I think it's time we talked about rules. Denise let out a short, scornful laugh at rules. Vivian, you clearly don't understand how things work. My son is married to your daughter. That makes us family. And family doesn't need rules to visit, I repeated, letting the word hang in the air. Interesting choice. To visit lasts a day, maybe 2 to weekend, if everyone gets along. You've been here for 2 weeks. That's not a visit. That's an invasion. Taylor sprang to her feet, arms crossed. Listen, lady, I don't know what Sasha told you, but we're not invading anything. Omar invited us, but it's his house too. No, I said, meeting her stare. It isn't. The room went still. This house is in Sasha's name only. Omar has no legal rights to it, which means, technically, he can't invite anyone here without her permission. I watched their faces shift confusion, disbelief, and then something very close to fear flickered across Denise's eyes. That can't be true, she said slowly. Omar told us the house belonged to both of them. Then Omar lied, I replied evenly, or assumed something that isn't true. I turned to my daughter, who stood frozen in the doorway. Sasha, tell your mother-in-law whose house this is. She swallowed hard, her eyes darting between us. I could see the battle raging inside her, the fear, the conditioning, the need to keep the peace at any cost. Then her shoulders straightened. Just a little. It's mine, she said. Her voice trembled, but it carried. My mother bought it for me before I met Omar. It's only in my name. The silence that followed was thick, almost suffocating. Denise stared at us, recalculating. I could practically hear the gears turning in her head as she searched for a new angle. Well, she said finally, forcing a smile that doesn't change anything. Sasha wants us here. She's generous, kind, not like some daughters-in-law who are selfish and petty. She understands family, guilt. The oldest weapon there is, Sasha, I said, my gaze never leaving Denise. Do you want them here? The room held its breath. Years of conditioning weighed on my daughter, years of being told her needs didn't matter. That saying no made her cruel. She began weakly. The truth, baby. I said gently, but only the truth. She inhaled deeply. No, she said, stronger this time. I don't want them here. Denise gasped as if struck. Taylor and Morgan exchanged stunned looks. Even the children froze. You can't be serious, Denise snapped. After everything we've done for you, after welcoming you into our family, after my son saved you from being a divorced, lonely woman, there it was. The mask slipped. Saved. I repeated, my voice sharp now. Your son didn't save anyone. Sasha didn't need saving. She had her own home, her own life. If anyone benefited from this marriage, it was him. How dare you? Denise stepped toward me, eyes blazing. My son works hard. He pays the bills in this house. What bills? I asked calmly. Electricity. Water. With 8 people living here, those must be high. Her mouth opened, then closed. I had hit the truth. Sasha, I said quietly, who's been paying the utilities? She looked down. I have. Omar says money's tight right now. He's saving for a project. And the food, I pressed. The pantry was full 3 weeks ago. I've done the grocery shopping, she admitted. 3 times this week. Almost $800. $800. I turned back to Denise, my smile cold. and you've contributed nothing. Sasha shook her head. So let me get this straight, I said slowly. You moved into my daughter's house, ate her food, used her utilities, took her bedroom, worked her like a servant. I took a step closer, and now you're telling us you have a right to be here, her utilities, sleeping in her bed, and turning her into your personal servant without paying a single dime. We are family, Denise repeated, but this time her voice lacked confidence. Family doesn't charge each other. You're right, I said, nodding slowly. Family doesn't charge. But family also doesn't exploit. Family doesn't humiliate. Family doesn't turn a home into a prison. This is ridiculous, Morgan snapped, standing up. Mum, you don't have to listen to this. When Omar gets here, he'll put them in their place. Omar won't do anything, I replied calmly, so calmly it surprised even Sasha, because by the time Omar gets here, you won't be here. The room went dead silent. What did you say? Denise asked slowly, her voice sharp with danger. You heard me? It's time for all of you to pack your bags and leave. Denise stared at me, then let out a dry, contemptuous laugh. You can't kick us out. This isn't your house. It belongs to your daughter and my son. Your son can stay, I replied evenly, if Sasha decides he can. But you cannot. And who exactly is going to kick us out? Taylor sneered. You, a 70-year-old woman. I stepped closer, looking her straight in the eyes. She was taller, younger. She thought that mattered. Be careful about underestimating older women, I said quietly. We've survived too much to be afraid of people like you. Her smirk faded. She stepped back. Sasha, Denise said sharply, turning away from me. You're not really going to allow this, are you? You'll let your mother destroy your marriage. Think about Omar. Think how he'll feel when he finds out you threw his family out. There it was again, the guilt, the pressure, the emotional trap. I saw Sasha's lips part. She was about to give in. Omar can feel however he wants, I said firmly before she could speak. But he will have to understand that his wife deserves respect in her own home. And if he can't understand that, then he needs to ask himself what kind of man he is. You're trying to destroy their marriage, Denise accused, her voice rising. You never liked that she found someone. You wanted to keep her dependent on you. The accusation was so absurd it almost made me laugh. I won't dignify that with a response. I said simply, you have 1 hour to pack your things and leave this property. 1 hour, Morgan shouted. Are you insane? We have boxes, suitcases, toys everywhere. Then I suggest you start packing instead of arguing. At that moment, Derek finally walked in from outside. Stocky, mid-40s, beer belly, bored expression. What's going on? He asked. She's kicking us out, his wife screeched. Can you believe it? Derek looked me up and down, clearly assuming intimidation would work. Ma'am, he said, lowering his voice, This is my brother's house. We're his guests. You have no authority here. I pulled my phone from my pocket. The gesture alone made everyone tense. What are you doing? Denise asked suspiciously. Calling the police. Don't be ridiculous. I'm not calling the police, I said, dialing. I'm calling my lawyer. That word changed everything. Attorney Miller came the voice on the other end. Hello, I said loudly. I need clarification about the deed to the acreage purchased for my daughter last year. The property is solely in her name, correct? Yes. Her husband has no ownership rights. That's correct. And as private property acquired before marriage, she alone decides who may stay. Absolutely. If people refuse to leave when asked, that constitutes trespassing. She can call the police. I looked straight at Denise as her face drained of color. Even if they're relatives of her husband, makes no difference. The law is clear. Thank you, I said, and ended the call. The silence afterward was absolute. If you're not off this property within 1 hour, I said evenly, Sasha will call the police. And trust me, you do not want to be escorted out for trespassing. This is unbelievable, Denise whispered. Wait until Omar hears about this. Omar is free to have opinions, I replied. But this is reality. You abused Sasha's hospitality. You spent her money. Took her space. Treated her like a servant. And that ends now. We didn't do any of that, Morgan yelled. She's dramatic, I repeated coldly. Her hands are destroyed from cleaning for you. She hasn't slept in her own bed in 2 weeks. She spent $800 feeding you. And you call her dramatic. Morgan had no reply. Mum, Sasha whispered from the doorway. What happens when Omar gets here? That was the question hanging over everything. Omar depends on him, I replied honestly. He can get angry. He can defend his family, or he can see this for what it is, a necessary intervention to protect his marriage and his wife's mental health. He will take our side, Denise said confidently. My son knows his place. Family comes first. His family is Sasha now, I said, looking straight at her. When he married her, she became his priority, not you. That's what you think, Denise spat. A son is always a son. Blood is thicker than any marriage certificate, and there it was, the truth she had never tried to hide. In her mind, no woman would ever outrank her. No wife could win that battle as long as Omar remained under her control. You have 50 minutes, I said, checking my watch. I suggest you stop talking and start packing. For a moment, no one moved. They stared at me, waiting for me to soften, to laugh, to say it was all a misunderstanding. I didn't. Finally, Derek scoffed. This is stupid. I'm calling Omar. We waited once, twice, 3 times. Voicemail, he's not answering, he muttered. Then explain it to him later, I said flatly. And start packing now. Denise glared at me, pure hatred in her eyes. I had seen worse. Anger from a manipulative woman no longer frightened me. Fine, she said coldly. We're leaving. But this won't be the end. Omar will know exactly what you did. She turned to Sasha, disappointment sharp as a knife. I hope you're ready for the consequences of choosing your mother over your marriage. I saw it land. Fear flickered across my daughter's face. Sasha is choosing peace, I said firmly before Denise could do more damage. If Omar has a problem with that, it's his issue, not hers. With a scoff, Denise marched toward the master bedroom. The sisters followed, muttering, ungrateful, terrible, selfish. Derek lingered, studying me. You know this will start a family war. If protecting my daughter starts a war, I replied calmly, then so be it. He shook his head and went to gather his children. His wife shot venomous looks as she collected toys from the floor when the house finally quieted. Sasha collapsed onto the sofa, trembling. I sat beside her and held her the way I did when she was a child with nightmares. Did I do the right thing, Mum? She whispered. Or did I just destroy my marriage? My love, I said softly, stroking her hair. A marriage that survives only if you accept mistreatment is not a marriage worth saving. But I love Omar. I know it. And maybe he loves you too. But love without respect will destroy you. We sat there, listening to suitcases dragging, drawers slamming, the sound of an invasion being dismantled. I'm scared, she admitted. What if he leaves me? What if I'm alone again? I took her face in my hands. If he leaves because you refused to be abused, then he was never the man you believed him to be, and you deserve better. But I'm 43. Who will want me now? You didn't fail, I said firmly. Your first husband abused you. That wasn't your fault. And if this marriage ends, it won't be your fault either. The failure belongs to men who don't know how to value extraordinary women. She cried, not in despair, but in release. Half an hour later, we heard cars pull up. Omar had arrived. Sasha stiffened. It's okay, I said, squeezing her hand. You're not alone. The door opened. Omar stepped in, followed by his quiet father. What's going on? Omar asked, staring at the suitcases. Denise stormed out. Thank God you're here. Your mother-in-law has lost her mind. She's kicking us out. Omar looked at me, then at Sasha. What is she talking about? Omar, Sasha began. I stepped in. I asked your family to leave because they've abused Sasha's hospitality for 2 weeks. Abused? Omar echoed. They're my family. I told them they could stay. This is not your house to offer, I said calmly. What do you mean it's not my house? He snapped. This property belongs solely to Sasha. You have no ownership rights. His face changed. He hadn't known nor had chosen not to. That doesn't matter, he insisted. We're married. It does matter, I replied. And even if it didn't, you still have no right to let anyone mistreat your wife. Mistreat it. He turned to his mother. What is she saying? Denise smiled sweetly. We've been kind of... Sasha is overreacting. How am I overreacting? Sasha asked, standing up. Am I overreacting because your mother sleeps in our bed and I sleep on the sofa? Because I spent $800 feeding your family? Because I cook and clean from dawn to midnight? Sasha, you're being dramatic, Omar said weakly. No, she said firmly, I'm exhausted. And you didn't protect me. Silence. Mum, Omar asked slowly, did you know Sasha hasn't slept in our bed? I have back problems, Denise stammered. Why didn't you take a guest room? No answer. Omar exhaled heavily. Mum, I think you should go. Denise stared at him in disbelief. You're choosing her. I'm choosing what's right, he said quietly. And I should have done it sooner, Taylor erupted. You're choosing her over your own blood. She's my wife, Omar replied. And you treated her like staff. Morgan pointed at me. She brainwashed you. I stepped forward. I came because my daughter was crying, exhausted, humiliated in her own home. If that's causing trouble, then you don't understand family. Vivian is right, a quiet voice said. Everyone turned. Omar's father finally spoke. What we did was wrong. I watched Sasha work herself to the bone and said nothing. I'm ashamed. The room fell silent. Denise stared at her husband. Stunned. For the first time, she had lost. She tried to say something to defend herself. To twist the situation, to shift the blame onto anyone else. But for the first time, Denise had no words. Her usual weapons, manipulation, guilt, playing the victim, failed her. She wasn't just being confronted by outsiders anymore. She was being confronted by her own son and her husband. Finish packing, Omar said at last. His voice was steady, even though pain was clearly written in his eyes. You can stay in my old apartment. I still have the keys. It's downtown. 2 bedrooms. It's not big, but it's enough until you find another place. I'm not going anywhere, Denise snapped, straightening her back as if dignity could be summoned on command. If we leave, you leave with us, Omar. That's the only option. I watched him closely. This was the moment that mattered. The moment when he would finally have to choose his mother's control or respect for his wife. Omar looked at Denise, then at Sasha, standing beside me. Tears ran freely down her face, but her posture was proud, unbroken. I could see the war raging inside him, decades of conditioning, clashing with the truth he could no longer deny. No, Mum, he said at last. I'm staying here. with my wife, in her house where I should have been all along, defending her instead of letting her be treated like this. Denise gasped, as if struck. Her eyes filled with tears, but they were not tears of sorrow. They were tears of rage, of losing control she had held over her son for 45 years. "You'll regret this," she said, her voice shaking. "When she disappoints you, when this marriage fails like her first one, you'll regret choosing a stranger over your own blood." "Sasha is not a stranger," Omar replied, firmer than I had ever heard him. "She is my wife. And if this marriage ever fails, it will be because I didn't protect her, not because she wasn't worth it." Denise looked at us all, fury and pain twisting her expression. For a moment, I thought she would attack again with more accusations, more manipulation. But something in Omar's face told her this fight was over. "Fine," she said coldly. "We're leaving. But don't expect me to ever speak to either of you again. Not you, Omar, and certainly not you, Sasha. You've made your choice. Now live with the consequences." She turned and marched toward the bedroom. Taylor and Morgan followed, shooting us looks full of hatred. Derek and his wife hurried to gather their children, muttering about disrespect and ingratitude. Omar's father lingered. He stepped toward Sasha and placed a hand on her shoulder. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, "but I should have spoken up. I should have defended you." Sasha nodded, unable to speak. He nodded back and went outside to help load the bags. Omar sank onto the couch, his head in his hands, trembling. For the first time in his life, he had stood up to his mother. And even though it was the right choice, it cost him everything emotionally. I hugged Sasha, and she clung to me, sobbing. These weren't only tears of pain, they were tears of release, of freedom, of years of silence finally breaking. The next half hour was chaos. Suitcases dragged through the house, children crying. Denise moved like a fallen queen, collecting every item she could claim as her own. At one point, Taylor grabbed a decorative lamp. "That stays here," I said sharply. "I bought it," she lied. "No," Sasha said loudly, for the first time raising her voice. "I bought it 8 months ago at $10 cash. I still have the receipt." Taylor dropped the lamp in fury and stormed out. Finally, the cars were packed. Denise stood at the door one last time. "Omar," she said quietly, "last chance. Come with us. Don't let these women destroy our family." Standing beside Sasha, his arm around her, Omar shook his head. "I've made my decision. My place is here. This door closes today," Denise warned, "and it will never open again." "That's your choice," Omar replied calmly. "I'm only choosing my wife." She said nothing more. She turned and walked to the car, head held high. We stood on the porch as the vehicles disappeared down the gravel drive. The silence afterward was heavy, Sasha broke first, throwing her arms around Omar. He held her tightly, tears finally falling. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I should have listened. I should have protected you." Later, when I asked if they were okay, Sasha nodded. Omar looked at me with red eyes. "You were right. I was afraid." "You were torn," I said. "That doesn't make you weak. What matters is that you chose, right?" "She's my mother," he said quietly. "And Sasha is your family now," I answered. They kissed, not passionately, but honestly. A kiss of apology and promise as I left. I warned Omar plainly, "If I ever find her crying like that again, next time I won't just kick your family out." He nodded. "It won't happen again." That night, Sasha called me. Her voice was lighter. "We talked," she said. "Really talked." He apologized. I forgave him, but I told him things have to change. "And did they?" I asked. He cried, "Mum," she said softly. He finally understood. I smiled into my tea, knowing this wasn't the end, but it was a beginning. As she spoke, I felt the tightness in my chest ease slightly. Maybe Amar really had learnt something from all of this. Maybe this marriage still had a chance. "I'm glad, my love." "Truly," I said. "We're going to clean the house together," Sasha continued. "The entire house. Change the sheets, wash everything they touched, reorganize every space." Omar says he wants the house to feel like ours again, not like a reminder of what happened. "That's a very good idea," I replied. "Sometimes we need to clean a place physically before we can heal emotionally. Mum." Her voice softened, suddenly fragile. "Do you think I'm a bad person for kicking out Omar's family?" "No," I answered without hesitation. "You're a woman who finally defended her right to live with dignity in her own home. That doesn't make you bad. It makes you strong." "She said terrible things before she left," Sasha whispered, "that I destroyed their family. That I was manipulative. That Omar would regret choosing me." "Those are the words of a woman who lost control," I said firmly. "They have nothing to do with you and everything to do with her." Denise was used to controlling her son. When you and I confronted her, that power vanished and that terrified her. "Do you think Omar will forgive me one day?" Sasha asked quietly. "If his relationship with his mother is ruined because of this..." "Sasha," I interrupted gently, "listen to me carefully. You didn't ruin anything. Denise ruined her own relationship with her son by forcing him into an impossible choice. A good mother wants her child to be happy, even if that means stepping back. She chose control over love. Those are the consequences of her actions, not yours." I heard her breathing on the other end of the line as she absorbed my words. "Thank you for coming today, Mum, for not leaving me alone. I will never leave you alone, I promised. But now you need to stay strong and hold your boundaries. Denise will try to come back. She'll call Omar. She'll play the victim. She tried to make him feel guilty. When that happens, you need to stand united. We will, Sasha said with quiet determination. Omar promised me he won't let her manipulate him again. He's setting clear boundaries, neutral places, short visits, no living together, no surprise invasions. Ever. That sounds fair, I said. He can have a relationship with his mother if he chooses, but never at the cost of your peace. We talked for almost another hour. Sasha told me how they found items deliberately left behind Denise's scarf in the closet, children's toys under the sofa, Taylor's toothbrush still in the bathroom. I'm packing everything and sending it back, Sasha said. I don't want anything of theirs here. After we hung up, I sat quietly, staring at the city lights. I thought about my own mother, gone for 30 years, and wondered if she would have been proud of me. I believe she would have understood that sometimes love must be fierce, that love means saying no, when everyone expects yes. The following days were peaceful. Sasha called me every evening. She and Omar were finally talking, truly talking about boundaries, expectations, family. They had started couples therapy. The therapist explained that Omar was enmeshed with his mother, that he never developed healthy boundaries. And what does Omar think? I asked. He says it makes sense. Sasha told me that he always felt responsible for pleasing her, terrified of disappointing her. At least he sees it now, I said. That's the first step. A week later, Denise began calling. Omar didn't answer. The messages grew more manipulative with each attempt. The therapist advised him not to respond. 2 weeks later, Denise called me. Her voice sounded different, tired, almost broken. I didn't realize what I was doing, she admitted. My husband made me see that I was being abusive. You were, I said plainly. You turned Sasha's home into a prison. I don't know how to fix this, she whispered. Start by respecting boundaries, I said. Stop the guilt. Stop the pressure. Write a letter. Take responsibility, and then give him space. If this is manipulation, I warned her, it won't work. We won't allow it. I want to change, she said quietly. Time would tell. A month later, Sasha invited me for lunch. The house was transformed, fresh paint, flowers, new curtains, clean air. It felt like a new beginning. Omar looked different to calmer, present, protective. She sent the letter. He said, we thanked her, but asked for time, and she accepted. I asked. Yes, he nodded. Sasha is my priority now. We spent the afternoon laughing. For the first time in months, Sasha looked truly at peace. Before I left, she took my hands. Not all mothers would have done what you did, she said. But you did, and I'll never forget it. You're my daughter, I replied simply. That night, Sasha sent me a photo of her and Omar embracing in the garden. 3 words below it. Thank you for everything. I smiled. knowing she was finally safe, that her house, her voice, and her life were truly hers again. Because that's what mothers do. We protect. We stand firm, and we never allow our daughters to be broken in silence.